What's the worst punishment you ever received as a child? My mom found out my sister was suicidal, so she locked my sister in her room with literally nothing but a blanket and maybe an air mattress. She was only let out to use the restroom. Food and clothes were brought up to her and then taken when she was finished. My mom told me about this when I was about 8 or 9. I'm 19 now, and I have never and will never tell her about any of my mental health issues for fear of my life. Yes, leave a suicidal person alone with their thoughts for however long. My grandparents beating my mother in front of me for me talking to her. I was in their custody and my mother was an addict who they didn't want around, and she kept trying to call and come see me. So she came over and my grandparents beat her, broke her jaw and nose, and said it was my fault for talking to her. I was 7. My mother was an addict, no surprises there. Your grandparents sound like shit. Ironically, my grandmother was also an alcoholic and pillhead as well. And yeah, I have way more worse stories lol. I was driven about 30 minutes outside of my city to an isolated, large, and creepy looking building, which I was told was an orphanage. I was given the choice of telling the truth and admitting to something I had not done, or being left there. I'm 38 and still think about this from time to time. Update, not to excuse what they did, but my mum and dad both had terrible upbringings with abusive parents. My dad was full of anger and my mum was rather weak and full of shame. I started therapy about 5 years ago and was reaching a point where I was going to decide whether to confront my parents with how I felt about my childhood or cut them from my life. Then my dad died. With his death, a lot of my own anger about how they'd behaved went. I've been able to be the bigger person with my mum and set her a better example of how to behave, including how I expect her to behave towards me. Our relationship is stronger than it has ever been, and I don't dwell on this event in the same way. I used to be hurt thinking about it. Now I see it as the reactions of angry and scared people to a situation they couldn't control, and resolve to do better myself. My dad always told my brother and I that he was going to have CPS take us away because he hated us. Gotta love those long-term crippling fears of abandonment. My mum does the same thing. She'll tell to my sick dad whilst I'm in the other room crying after an argument where she threatens to kill me that she can't deal with this shit anymore and it needs to go. It's really hurtful. Edit, it's worse because my dad really doesn't care. Has got terminal cancer, which is stressful for all of us, but mostly him, so he just says, well, do it then. Like after has gone he doesn't care what happens to me. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Stay strong and always remember that it's her and not you. When I was around 6 years old, my stepdad woke me up in the night by pulling me out of the bed and yelling that I had got piss on the toilet seat. He took me out on the front porch, and while he was paddling me, the rail I was bracing against broke, and I fell off the porch. My mom said I couldn't have a best friend anymore because my best friend and I were drawing pentagrams on manuscript paint at our after school program, pretending they were transmutation circles from an anime called Full Metal Alchemist. Pentagrams are much easier for a 9-year-old to draw than an intricate alchemy array. My mom immediately jumped to this being devil worshipping, despite my friend and I not even knowing what a pentagram really meant. This led to my mom telling every single teacher and after school care worker not to allow me to be anywhere near my friend. Friend moves away and mom won't let me ML her to stay in touch. I'm 24 now and haven't had any close friends since. Christina, if you're out there, I still miss you. This made me so sad. I hope you find her one day. My dad holding me up by grabbing my ear and my foot. Lol, my mom broke the cartilage in my ear like this. It turned blackish and hurt when the wind blew. Thought I had an ear infection. She took me to the doctor. Guy says this shit broke. What happened? I hadn't realized what happened until the doctor asked me, and I thought for a few seconds and saw my mother staring at me, and I went I fell. I always thought I'd just save this bitch a really awkward situation lol. Not gonna lie, this shit broke made me laugh. My mum took everything in my room except a blanket, my radio, books, toys, you name it. I was locked in there for the UK summer holidays. They are 6 weeks long. My mum used to beat 10 bells of shit out of, but being locked in that room the whole summer was probably the worst. Beatings will continue until your moral improv is in all ducking serious. Life got better, and I never see my dad anymore and him, and my mom ask, when I'm having kids, and why I haven't seen them in years despite living probably 30 minutes from them. I wish more people realize they can cut toxic people they are related to out of their lives. You can't pick your family, but you can choose to leave. In the 1980s, my father was a radioman and often had spare parts lying around. Whenever I was rebellious toward him, he was fond of whipping my bare back with metal radio antenna. I hope you are in a better place now and are okay after that. I've been hit on the legs with one of those. Ducking hurts. When I was 8 years old, I had every dish in the house thrown at me, including a loaf of bread. I was then locked outside till midnight. I was first put out in the morning. Once I was left out front. 4-year-old me thought, ha, imago over there. They couldn't find me because I was going to the park, down the road, on my own, in the cold. I can't even imagine letting either of my kids, 3 and 5, out of the house on their own. The pointless ones. We had landscaping rocks in our yard from an unfinished project. They were probably 30 pounds each. After a number of other punishments failed, my parents came up with the move rocks punishment. I'd have to move 30 or so of these rocks 50 yards, set them up into a particular shape, square, circle, etc. Closed bracket, comma, have my parents check them, and then move them all back. The pointlessness of it all was the worst. Sounds like an anal punishment. They had top bamboo feather duster to the butt. It's basically caning. Yes, but with a whimsical feathered aspect you don't see in a good caning. My mom pulled down my pants and hit me with the brush side of a hairbrush. In front of my 3 fellow 5-year-old friends. I was innocent. She didn't believe me. That's rough, buddy. My friend's mom was the smartest woman on earth though. Growing up she would reward us with a pack of Pokemon cards for completing a list of chores. But if we were being really misbehaved she would pull out a pack, open it, show us the contents of the pack, and then rip up the cards. The woman ripped up a ducking Charizard in front of 2 10-year-olds and an 8-year-old. We didn't act out much after that devastating blow. I'm not sure if I'm horrified or impressed. I'm both. An ass whooping from dad. That his grip and my trying to run broke my arm. How was that explained to the doctor? I fell off of my bike. So that's why the nurses separated my whole family to ask each of us exactly how my sibling broke an arm as a toddler. They really did just fall off a chair though. Same thing happened to me. I busted my head open by running and hitting a wall. The doctors thought my parents were lying. Lol. Nope, I'm just a dumbass. Got put on restriction for 6 months for doing something my mom said I could do. But then she said she never gave me permission to do, even though another adult was sitting there and confirmed he heard her give me permission to do it. Also had to pick up all the rocks in the vacant lot next to our house and put them in a pile on weekends as part of the punishment. That something was, rode my bicycle to the library. That's it? Bruh. Exercise and education, 6 months of abuse. I shed my pants in the 4th grade. I don't know why, but I had a condition that made me hold it all in and not use a toilet. This had been going on and off my entire life, not a problem anymore. My dad was furious. I remember being naked in my bedroom with my dad. My dirty underwear was on the floor and my dad had a hard grip on my arm while he screamed and yelled at me. He yelled at me things like, how old are you, no one is gonna wanna be your friend and you're disgusting. He then beat me his belt. My dad worked at a flour mill and spent his days stacking 100-pound flour bags 10 high, so he was built like the ducking Hulk. He would then rub my shit-filled underwear in my face, making me look at it and smell it. Hands tied behind my back with a belt so I couldn't cover myself, and then beat about the face, neck and shoulders with another belt for several minutes. Dad was a real piece of shit. Edit. Thanks for the kind words. Life got better. Damn, that sucks. My mom would just sit on me to hold me down so dad could get good shots with the belt. Damn. I'm lucky. I was only ever spanked with a wooden spoon. And once I could outrun my mom. She let me. I can't believe people think beating the shit out of kids is good parenting. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.